Well, hi there, South Fellowship Church. This is Ryan Paulson, lead pastor with you again, and I'm excited to jump into another one of our videos where we're just reviewing and talking about how to study the scriptures for ourselves. And so if you were with us on Sunday, we looked at the letter to the church at Sardis, which is out of Revelation chapter 3, and it's starting in verse 1. And one of the things that I was fascinated by in this letter and want to invite you into is the way that context and culture plays such a big part, not only in interpretation of the scriptures, so understanding what was going on in the times, but also in understanding the motivation behind Jesus writing this letter to this church. And I argued on Sunday that I think the letter to the church at Sardis is maybe the most contextualized letter of all of the 7 in the first few chapters of Revelation. And so let me just point out to you how to look for that context and a few of the pieces of context that are important, and then what do we do with it? So this is the way the letter reads. And to the angel of the church in Sardis write, the words of him who has the 7 spirits of God and the 7 stars. Now, one of the things that was interesting is that Sardis was known for minting coins. And one of the coins that was sort of floating around at the time was a picture of Domitian's son. And he was sitting on top of a globe. So here's our globe. And he looks like a ghost. Sorry about that. And he had 7 stars that were surrounding him. And so when Jesus says, I'm the one who has the 7 spirits of God, all the wisdom of God, and the 7 stars, he was the one who sat above the cosmos. And that was really important for those in Sardis. And here's the way he goes on. So that's one piece of context. Second piece, he says, you have a reputation of being alive, but you're dead. Wake up, strengthen what remains, and is about to die, for I have not found your works complete in the sight of my God. So, the very first command he gives is wake up. But that had a history for this church. See, in Sardis, there was a big mountain that was behind the city. It was 1,500 feet tall. And on top of it, back in this day, there was a fortress. And so anytime there was an issue or an attack of the town of Sardis, the whole town would traverse up the mountain and they would hang out in the fortress. And it was thought to be unpenetrable. Well, that was until 500 when Cyrus, king of Persia, is camping out in the valley and he saw somebody drop one of the soldiers drop a helmet. The helmet rolls down and they see the way that the guy traverses down, and then the army knew, oh, okay, if that's how you get down, that's also how you get up. And so this impenetrable city was attacked and destroyed. That happened again 200 years later because one of the guards, you guessed it, fell asleep. So when Jesus is talking to the people of Sardis about staying awake, they had a context for why that was so important. Here's the way he continues. Remember then what you've received and heard, keep it, repent. If not, if you will not wake up, I will come like a thief, and you will not know what hour I will come against you. Well, the person who climbed up and attacked this mountain was thought to be a thief. And Jesus isn't saying, or he came like a thief. Jesus isn't saying that he's going to steal and kill and destroy. He's not that kind of thief. He's saying he's going to wake them up. Like God did with Jonah, or God did with Saul, or maybe like God has done with you. And so then he says this, you have a few names left in Sardis, people who have not soiled their garments. Now, Sardis was known for being a wool factory. It was pumping out a ton of wool during this time and making garments. And so Jesus is playing on this imagery that's just constantly around them. He's going, you know what it's like to have white wool garments, brand new. And he says, listen, there's some around you who they haven't soiled their garments, and they will walk with me in white, for they are worthy. He goes on. So he's pulling all this imagery and all this context. The one who conquers will be clothed thus in white garments, and I will never blot out his name from the book of life. What's really fascinating is that while Sardis was never the military capital of any of the empires, for the Persians and the Seleucids, they were the administrative capital. And so they had all of the books that housed all the names of the citizens. So Jesus is sort of painting this picture. He's saying, you know about these books. You know about the books of the census. And he's going, listen, I'm going to speak your language as you walk with me, as you stay awake, as you continue to push forward by my grace, empowered by my spirit, for my kingdom. You can be confident. That's what Jesus wants to instill in this church, that your name will never be blotted out like they were of criminals. That's never going to happen with you. Because Jesus says, I will confess your name before my Father and his angels. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Now, that's a lot of context, and my opinion is that as we read this letter, understanding all these different allusions that Jesus is making to the time and the place for this church, it makes the letter not only come alive, but it also reminds us that our spirituality, our journey with God, is grounded. That's grounded in reality. Jesus cares about the real and everyday stuff, and he uses it all as an allusion to talk about the good news of his gospel. All right, I hope that encourages your soul a little bit today as we talk about context. If you want to find some of these resources, if you live in Denver Seminary Library is great. There's a number of great commentaries there. You can pick up commentaries online, some of them even for free. If you go and check those out, if you have like an ESV or NIV, they have study Bibles and there's some notes in there. Google, for the most part, is your friend, and you can find out a lot of things about a lot of these churches, and I would encourage you to do so. All right, thanks for tuning in today, and hope you have a great week. God bless.